as we move forward with not just one, but two lead projects going, one in Mexico and one in Canada. And right now, the catalyst. Very excited for 2022.
Joining us for a conversation is Dr. John Mark Stouty of Riverside Resources, where knowledge is golden. Dr. Stouty, welcome to the show.
Maurice, great to be on the show with you.
Well, it's a great time to be speaking with you as Riverside Resources has some breaking news coming out of Sonora, Mexico regarding some very high-grade gold and silver samples, along with the release of the corporate outlook for 2022. Before we begin, Dr. Stouty, please introduce us to Riverside Resources and the opportunity the company presents to shareholders.
Riverside is a prospect generator. We've been operating for 14 years. We have a good cash position. We have major partners such as BHP, the world's largest mining company, and we have programs going in Canada and in Mexico. Through our project generation, we de-risk projects using partners funding, and we always retain a royalty. Riverside has amazing upside with limited downside, and we have a great potential for 2022.
Speaking of 2022, Dr. Stouty, Riverside is wasting no time this year, starting the first week of this year with breaking news coming from Sonora, Mexico. Sir, take us on site to the La Union Polymetallic Project and walk us through the latest sample results, beginning with high-grade gold and silver surface samples.
You betcha. You know, Union Project is located in northwest Sonora. Sonora is the major mining state of the country of Mexico. Over 40% of all of the metal production comes out of Sonora, and for us, being on major structures similar to some of the giant gold deposits like the La Herradura mine, which has produced over 7 million ounces and has a potential future resource of over 20 million ounces. On these big fault structures and big feeder zones, our Union project is an excellent location. Secondly, it's the right type of geology. A carbonate replacement where the mineralization is associated with the Paleozoic rocks that host strong mineralization, and Mexico in general has been world famous for the carbonate replacement style deposits. So for us, Union is an excellent location, and the geology with these grades over 1 and 2 ounces of gold and over 150 ounces of silver, very rich right at the surface from rock chip samples, help us to see that these former mines, we have operating mines that used to operate down to 70, 80 meters, mining some of these replacement bodies, even down to 150 meters. And now Riverside owns this project 100%. And we're moving forward in early here in 2022 with this project. We're very excited about the potential here.
Absolutely, sir. I have a cross-section displayed before us. Can you show us where the samples were collected and the significance of their location on the stratigraphic column?
Most definitely. Looking at this cross-section, on the left, you see the Famosa mine, and at the mine we see rock chip samples there above the old operating workings there of 2 ounces of gold and 150 ounces of silver. And then on the cross section, as you're looking going off to the east, to the right, we actually go over to the Plamosa zone, and there we have as well high-grade gold and silver as well as lead mineralization in those thrust structures where we can see in red the replacement zones, and we see these dikes coming along. And lastly, on the far right, the stratigraphic column where we see the geological stratigraphy and the dike going through. If we can hit those type of targets with our drill program, man, we're off to the races. We see great potential here. These type of deposits have been key. You know, Mexico has been a world leader for silver production for 5 centuries, and carbonate replacements have been one of the major types. So for us, having these type of giant deposit potential, and for us owning this project, we're very excited about the potential of what we can see here at the Union project.
Dr. Stouty, tell us more about the geological setting.
The geological setting, in this map you can see here, on the left we see the Famosa zone, and there we see some big structures going across, similar to other big mining districts. And then on the east side of the picture, the right side, we see 2 north-south structures. Those 2 north-south structures with a nice zone in the middle, a fabulous corridor of favorable geology and mineralization. These type of geology where we're seeing the sediments with these different stratigraphies and folds really make for wonderful targets, and we're very excited by the geology at the Union project.
Now, based on the latest findings, how does this impact your exploration plans on the La Union?
For us, I have a sample here actually. I brought a sample of some of the sulfides and the oxides. So two parts of it. One is geophysics, because we have over $4 million cash in the bank right now as Riverside. So for us, we can deploy some of that capital moving ahead this project, the Union project. So doing geophysics is good. And secondly, drilling. We're getting the drill permits right now, and then we'll be ready to drill. We see us right from the surface, so shallow holes. Really great potential for drilling here. Great location, easy access, relatively flat topography, really a great place to go on private ranch land. So we really like this geology. So our program for early 2022 of geophysics and then drilling really is keying up the project to go very well for Riverside.
Moving on from the La Union, Dr. Stouty, Riverside also announced this week your corporate outlook for 2022. Shareholders are anxious to hear what you have planned. But before we take a step forward, let's take a step back. Dr. Stouty, please share some of the highlights from 2021.
Man, 4 great things in 2021. One of them was drilling. We got over 25 meters of 1.5 gram gold at the Cecilia project, and we see in 2022 a real chance to expand on that. Secondly, working with BHP, the world giant mining company, we were able to develop 5 projects. And now in 2022, we'll progress those and additional ones as well. So we're very excited about that. The third thing was the Union project, where we consolidated ownership and put out news about that. And now we see this great reason why we did that. And lastly, the Oaks project and overall the Geraldton Gold Belt. Riverside has been very active in Canada, and we love working in the province of Ontario. Ontario produces over 40% of all of the gold in the country of Canada. So we know we're in well-endowed gold belts. Right next to us in the Geraldton Gold Belt during 2021, there was a purchase by Equinox Gold for $600 million. And we're adjacent to that. So for us, 2021 for the Geraldton Gold Belt and our projects was excellent, setting us up for 2022 with great programs moving ahead.
Well, you're in the right place, and hopefully this year is the right time. Now, looking forward, let's find out what Riverside has planned for 2022. Dr. Stouty, what are some of the key objectives for Riverside this year, beginning in Mexico?
Beginning in Mexico, one thing, as we've talked about, is the work we're doing at Union, and we're definitely keen on that. A second thing is with BHP. We're definitely going forward. We're working on yet more deals, and we're looking forward to giving news flow on those coming up in the next weeks to months. And then secondly, on top of that is moving ahead with the programs and the geophysics we've been doing. A third thing is copper. We have other copper projects inside Mexico, and we're really excited by 2022 for Riverside to unlock the value on the portfolio that we already have. And lastly is gold. We have good gold projects and we're acquiring more. We've been really active in Mexico, and so we're really excited for 2022 for drill discoveries at Union, for work with BHP, for the good programs on copper, and then also really going forward on the gold side where we have good projects on gold. So 2022 for us in Mexico is looking really positive.
Leaving Mexico, let's visit Canada, and in particular the Geraldton Greenstone Belt in Ontario, where Riverside hosts the Oaks project.
You bet. And that's where we'll see news coming right away. We're getting ready to do drilling as Riverside. That's a really good step. Riverside has been working it up, and we have all the drill permits in hand. We've done all the work. We're finishing off the geophysical interpretations now and ordering up the drill rigs. So we're so excited. It's wintertime. And it's been a tough year in 2021. Tough with COVID, tough with access, and we've been very cautious and careful. So for us, entering 2022, really being respectful, working with the communities, working with the areas, and getting forward with drilling in the Geraldton Belt, starting with the Oaks project, is excellent opportunity for Riverside. We have over ounce gold on the surface, big shear zones that go by. The property is really an interesting project. And recently there have been big acquisitions like Great Bear. Other large transactions have happened in Western Ontario. And for us being in Western Ontario, we really see we're in the right geography, the right geology, and the great potential. So for us, the Oaks project is dynamite, and we're really excited to move ahead as Riverside on that one.
Now, before we leave the property bank, what about other catalysts on the horizon?
Other catalysts are really good, including in Ontario, the other projects in the Geraldton Belt. To the west of us, we have our Pachette project and our Long Rose project. So we're excited by those. As we move into Mexico, we're very excited by the progress. We've talked about a couple of the projects, but as well on the La Silla project and also on the Cuarentas project, working on transactions. The last thing is our royalties. We're so delighted to have royalties on the non-compliant historic resource of over 1 million ounces at the Sugarloaf Peak project that Arizona Metals is progressing, and other projects that Riverside has royalties on. Our cash position being over $4 million is good, and if we can have these royalties kick in, that'd be great. Also having a royalty on the Peñoles project, that'll be really good as that project has moved ahead well. There's drilling and we see more news coming on the Peñoles project where Riverside dividended the shares to shareholders but kept the royalty for Riverside.
Switching gears, Riverside runs a tight ship and has a repute for being excellent stewards of capital. Dr. Stouty, please share the capital structure for Riverside Resources.
Riverside has a tight structure. We have 71 million shares out. We've always been very cautious about that. And we have no warrant overhang. There are no warrants right now. So basically everything in the market is in the market. And so we really see great upside now for Riverside. We see ourselves being relatively valued, and we see this great opportunity having cash and particularly having a nice share structure.
Speaking of value, let me put on my Rick Rule hat. For those that aren't aware, at every conference I attend with legendary investor Rick Rule, he's always looking for you in the audience when speaking, and he asks, John Mark, please share the enterprise value for Riverside Resources.
You know, it's great. Rick has always been a supporter and all the guys at Sprott, and it's wonderful. And I think key part for enterprise value, first off, is our cash position of well over $4 million. Secondly, the value of other people's money. We have over $8 million Canadian being spent in 2022 on the portfolio. Third thing, of course, is our royalties that we have. Royalties on a number of different projects, including 14 different royalties. And the other thing we have is the properties themselves, and that's really good, plus the share positions and other companies that have value. So Riverside really sees the enterprise value as being very low priced. In other words, great upside for us as shareholders when you look at all those things that are bundled into Riverside right now.
In closing, Dr. Stouty, what would you like to say to shareholders?
You know, I'm really excited for 2022. I'm very appreciative of the shareholders that are sticking with us and look forward to having additional shareholders join us now as we move forward with not just one, but 2 lead projects going, one in Mexico and one in Canada. And right now, the catalyst. Very excited for 2022.
John Mark, for someone that wants to learn more about Riverside Resources, please share the contact details.
Please come to our website. That's RIVRES.com or phone us at 778-327-6671. We'd love to talk to you as well on social media, and we'd love to actually have any calls or interactions you'd like to make.
Dr. Stouty, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Wishing you and Riverside Resources the absolute best in 2022, sir.
The information presented on Proven and Probable is provided for educational and informational purposes only, without any express or implied warranty of any kind, including warranties of accuracy, completeness, or fitness for any particular purpose. The information is not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, or trading advice, or any other advice. You should not make any financial, investment, or trading decision based on any of the information presented without first undertaking independent due diligence and consultation with a professional broker or competent financial advisor.